Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. I am your host, Daniel Faust. The new year is upon us, and we're back in a new virtual bedroom for episode number 2 of Meanings to Action in the Bedroom. And yesterday we talked about what marriage means overall to you, and now we're talking about what marriage means to him, the male, when they go over and get married. So very interesting as we went over and did our studies and prep for the show that we found out, and what most people believe, is sex is the most common thought society thinks men want in marriage. Well, now that I've done some study, I beg to differ. So this source comes from Forbes, and you can go read the article. It talks about top 10 traits men want in a wife, and this was studied in 2008 and written in 2010, and it shocked me. I mean, I'm not the typical male, but when they went over and surveyed a bunch of males to go see what the new millennial man and beyond wanted, they went over and found the top 10 traits. So we're going to go over to go from number 10 to number 1, and don't forget, we have some time for our sponsors. And if you're listening on the audio side, enjoy the music, because some of our sponsors just do visuals in that particular regard. So enjoy that music break when we get to that. So let's go jump in. All right, number 10, ambition and industrious. So men are looking for women that have ambition and very industrious into the world, as more and more women are jumping into the workforce and sharing co-laboring duties at work and at home, and we're balancing between the bedroom to the boardroom. They're wanting a woman to go over and to be ambitious, to have goals, to have dreams, to have destiny, not just wanting to stay home and stay with the kids, and very industrious that can go over and do roles that are both not just male or female specific. Not every male needs to know how to use a hammer and use a nail. I sure don't. My wife's very industrious in that regard. It wasn't planned that way, but even though my dad was very mechanical, I'm not, but my son is very mechanical. It kind of skipped a generation. So number 10 is ambition and industrious. Number 9, desire for home and children. You would think this already plummeted all the way down to the bottom, but it actually didn't. It actually used to be number 6, but since career status has grown, since the women's empowerment movement, and now more and more women are coming in there into the workforce, especially now in the 2020s. Now you can be a stay-at-home mom and still be 6-7 figure income earner, the beautiful thing, or a dad. I know more and more dads are doing this nowadays. Ben Kilroy is one of those. He helps military dads to go over and help them thrive at home. But the ladies went over and upped their career status. So men over time wanted that to go over and to bring the kids and desire for home and children down. So it used to be number 6. Now it's number 9, but they still consider it important, but it's not on the top of the radar. Number 8 is good looks. Number 8 is good looks. The funny part is that good looks, you think that guys would want that under the top 10 on the higher end of there, maybe 2 and 1. It actually used to be number 15 for 60 years. Good looks wasn't that much of a concern. It was actually, it went up over time. As marriage has changed more for love and attraction, it's gone up actually. So when you think that guys were typically going over, it's like, yeah, sex, procreation, go over and have somebody home. Good looks wasn't even on the top 10 list. It was actually number 15. Going into number 7 is good health. Why has that gone over and not so high anymore? Because that's actually used to be in the top 5. It's because of modern medicine and life expectancy. So pre-COVID and whatnot, and even nowadays, like even with COVID, it's like usually if a woman is, let's say 50, 60, 70, and then you have obesity and other things, okay, then if you're getting married that long, then the numbers would go up. But in general, most of the time, because of modern medicine does a lot of amazing things, and even with our 2 years of craziness with this, that an average person going over and getting married, no matter if they find them online or in person or anything else, due to modern medicine and life expectancy, it brought health down to number 7. Going into number 6, sociability. You're like, sociability? Wouldn't even think that's on the top 10 at all. Actually, both sexes are now in the workplace, the majority, or they're doing side hustles or anything else, or going to college or doing all different types of things. But since both sexes are in the workplace and connecting in multiple different worlds, either in the virtual world or in the physical world, they want the connection to be in and out of the home. Because if you're going on a regular basis, date nights, conferences, other types of events, you go and work different things, your spouse might be with you. They might be working in the same place. You might have met your spouse at work. You don't want to be the spouse that, hey, this event comes up or go out and you can't flex to go out with the friends and hang out in groups. But before we jump into the last 5, we are going to do a quick break for our sponsors. And again, for the people that are listening on audio, you get some beautiful music in the background. For your video people, you get to see the advertisements in your viewing pleasure. So thank you for joining. Welcome back. We want to thank our sponsors, Prosper with Sonia Clark, which is now powered by Legrity. So you can go visit her show and watch her show of entrepreneurs, and also thank Legrity for going over and sponsoring this podcast. And they are doing a flash sale right now for you to start your television show as low as $147. Let's go jump back into our last 5, because I am still shocked and amazed. Even though I studied this, wrote this down and everything else, even saying this out loud is amazing to me. So let's get into the last 5. Number 5 is pleasing disposition. You ever thought about how a person displays themselves was something that a man would go over and looks for in marriage? That's very interesting. So if the person doesn't have a good disposition, they're a negative girl or a negative woman, depending on, age and whatnot and what you call, that they want them to overall have a pleasing disposition. So what they show on the face and their countenance and their overall character is one of the top 5 for men when they go over and looking to get into marriage. Number 4 is education and intelligence. As we talked about earlier, this has raised significantly over the past 40 or 50 years, and raised due to women pursuing education. One of the things I sort of knew but didn't know the hierarchy of this, and again, this is about a 12 to 15-year-old statistic because it takes a long time to study marriages and people's statistics. But at the time, in between 2008 to 2010, 60% of ladies that were out there and eligible for marriage are ladies that are college educated. They're usually more educated than the men typically. They would have like bachelors and masters and whatnot, and more nowadays. I would say the majority of the ladies that I go over and know are more highly educated than me. I have more life experience, but they go over and they are typically more college educated. And I give you kudos, ladies, that you can handle that load. For me, it's not so much. So going into number 3, emotional stability and maturity. Again, still not talking about sex, still not talking about intimacy and everything else. Emotional stability and maturity. Most guys going over and pursuing a woman to go over and get married are wanting to have that emotional stability. Actually, statistically, when you look at mental health as a spectrum, that if a couple goes over and gets married and then mental health comes into the factor, there's actually about a 90% divorce rate. So definitely men are going over looking for ladies that have emotional stability and the maturity matching with the age. Typically, women are usually more mature than men, just on average. But the thing of it is that definitely when a man's going over and pursuing a woman for marriage, then they're looking for that emotional stability and maturity. Not saying if you have mental health problems, you can't go over and still thrive. We've had that in our marriage and we're still thriving. It's just that those are the characteristics that the typical man is going over and looking for. All right, number 2, dependable character. Dependable character. When you're looking at the longevity of marriage, this has actually been in the top 2 since 1939. Why? All the reasons that you're probably shocked, just as I was, is that when we look at guys and we say, what are they desiring in a woman? It's a difference of a status. It's a difference of a status. So if a guy goes over and is just dating and just perusing, then the values are drastically different. The characteristics that they're looking for is different. But when it comes to marriage, that still people look at it as like one and done. Our society still looks at it that way in 2022. Is the majority, because 90% of people still get married to this day. That marriage is drastically different than dating. So you'll see a guy that goes over and dates, and you're like, all it's concerned about X, Y, and Z. You know, the superlatives in a sense. But when they go over and they're getting married, they're wanting to go look for those values. So sometimes when your guy is going over and waiting to propose, then he's probably going over and evaluating what his list is, even though he might not write it down, but he has his list on what he's looking for. And if this is on his top of his list, then he's looking at you completely differently, more than just sex, attraction, and everything else. So that's why. All right. And last, and certainly not least, is mutual attraction and love. Talking about both are attracted to each other. Both are wanting to be mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, and sexually connected together, and having all over that love and then anything else. So they're looking for that. And actually, this was a recent development in the past 40 years. The prior desires for men, the pre-70s and whatnot, when they were pursuing marriage, was dependability, emotional maturity. Again, we talked about that, was still on the top, and a pleasing disposition. So there's the list. Shocker, right? I know for me, didn't even say, hey, compatible in bed. Nothing in that particular regard. So our superhero challenge for the day is this your list? As you as a 2022 man going over and pursuing marriage, is this your list? Does this list be accurate? Is it kind of outdated? What's your order of your traits and your values that you look for in a woman? I'd love you to share on social media and share your thoughts. And tomorrow, we're going to go over and review on what the ladies went over and did through another Forbes survey. Let's see if we are equal, or are we totally different? Have we gone over and changed? Are we more connected together as a society, or are we still polar opposite? And maybe that's the reason why marriages are not surviving as much. So visit you guys tomorrow. Thank you for going over and listening wherever you listen at. If you want to get more interactive, visit Podopolo, Podoplo. We are live on there. We do classes, we do workshops, we do all types of things. So go over and connect with us there to really take your podcast to your next level. Thank you for joining, and you all have a great, great day.